Winterfell stands proud amidst the ruins of the North, a testament to the resilience of House Stark and the indomitable spirit of the North. But what was the true cost of preserving this icy fortress? What did Winterfell sacrifice to stay alive? Welcome to my channel. And today, let's find out the iron price of northern independence. The frigid winds that howl across the Frostfangs carry with them whispers of a time when Winterfell teetered on the brink of oblivion. Ned Stark, the honorable Lord of Winterfell, laid down his life to preserve his house's heritage and Winterfell's sovereignty. His son, Robb Stark, king in the North, made tremendous sacrifices to keep his ancestral home safe, even though it meant abandoning his mother and siblings to a terrible fate. And yet, despite these monumental efforts, Winterfell paid a heavy price to survive. When Robb Stark was forced to declare himself king, he set Winterfell on a collision course with the might of the Lannisters. This declaration ignited the War of the Five Kings, a brutal conflict that ravaged the North and left Winterfell vulnerable. The war drained the North's coffers and manpower, forcing Winterfell to endure grueling sieges. The memory of those sieges is still vivid in the minds of many, a haunting reminder of the darkness that threatened to engulf them. Yet somehow, they endured. The castle was damaged several times, but it never fell. Even when the Boltons defected and opened the gates to Stannis Baratheon, Winterfell survived. It was betrayed and almost destroyed, but it survived. Yet behind the towering stone walls, a stark reality was unfolding. A grim specter haunted the halls of Winterfell, one that whispered of hunger and despair. The sieges dragged on, the winter snows piled high, and the stores of food dwindled. The castle's resilience was tested not just by the onslaughts of battle, but also by the gnawing pangs of starvation. The people of Winterfell, including the brave soldiers who defended the realm, were reduced to praying for a meager bowl of soup. Children stared listlessly at the stew they couldn't eat. The youngest daughter of House Manderly died of starvation, while her father and brother feasted in front of her. They had received a delegation of 5 men from Stannis Baratheon to inform them that if they surrendered, the siege would end and they would be fed. Yet despite these desperate pleas, the Starks chose defiance over surrender, pride over pragmatism. They turned away aid and comfort, clinging to the hope of a rescue that seemed increasingly like a mirage in the vast expanse of the frozen North. Winterfell's struggle wasn't just a battle of swords and sorcery. It was also a harrowing ordeal of endurance against the most elemental of adversities, hunger and disease. It was an unseen battle that raged silently within the castle's protective embrace. Within those formidable walls, the specter of death danced a chilling jig. Disease stalked the halls, leaving despair in its wake. Men, women, and children alike succumbed to illnesses that thrived in the close quarters and dire conditions of the besieged castle. Smallpox, typhoid, and a host of other ailments ran rampant, turning the castle into a veritable charnel house. Those who survived the sieges often found themselves claimed by these unseen enemies. Behind the towering stone walls of Winterfell, there existed a silent epidemic that claimed its victims in the dead of night, stealing their breath and leaving behind only the echoes of coughs and the scent of decay. These were not merely statistics, but fellow men, friends, and neighbors. The toll was staggering, leaving deep scars on the survivors and haunting the dreams of those fortunate enough to live. To protect Winterfell, difficult decisions had to be made. Alliances with the wildlings beyond the wall, something the Northmen had traditionally shunned. This alliance allowed Jon Snow and the Night's Watch to open the gates of the wall, letting in thousands of wildlings who offered their skills and manpower to the fight against the dead. While tactically beneficial, this decision tore at the fabric of Winterfell society and challenged the North's traditional values. Sansa Stark's journey was a treacherous one. She was used as a pawn in the Game of Thrones. First betrothed to the sadistic Ramsay Bolton in a strategic move to secure an alliance with House Bolton. This marriage was a sham, a cruel joke that devastated Sansa and left her scarred emotionally. And physically, the trauma of this experience lingered, shaping her character and worldview in profound ways. Similarly, Theon Greyjoy's role in the sack of Winterfell was a tragic downfall. Betrayed by his own kin, he suffered unimaginable horrors, both physical and psychological, leaving him forever changed and marked by the suffering he both inflicted and endured. Years of warfare took a heavy toll on the North and Winterfell, destroying agricultural lands and critical infrastructure. The North was already a land of harsh winters and limited growing seasons. But the repeated conflicts exacerbated this issue, leading to food shortages and economic instability that would have repercussions for generations. During the war, common folk were often forced to take up arms, leaving fields and workshops unattended. This conscription of men and women into the military effort resulted in a shortage of labor. For essential tasks, families were torn apart as husbands, fathers and sons marched off to war, leaving wives, children, and the elderly to fend for themselves. Rebuilding Winterfell after its destruction by the Boltons was a monumental task that fell on the shoulders of the Starks. Equipping and arming the men of Winterfell to fortify the castle and prepare for the coming war required immense financial resources. The North, already grappling with economic instability due to years of conflict, was pushed to its limits to meet these demands. This financial strain threatened to undermine the very foundations of the North and Winterfell's ability to defend itself once again. In the darkest days of the battle against the dead, Jon Snow found himself making alliances with figures he once considered enemies. Characters like Davos Seaworth, who had been imprisoned by the Night's Watch, represented a strategic resource in the fight for survival. Such partnerships blurred traditional lines, forcing a reevaluation of ethics and loyalties. As the chaos of war engulfed the North, questions of justice and retribution arose. Littlefinger's role in the destruction of Winterfell and his manipulation of events in the region made him a prime target for vengeance. However, his execution raised complex questions about the cost of retribution and the potential consequences for Winterfell's future. The decision to spare or punish Littlefinger was a moral dilemma that reflected the harsh realities of the situation and the difficult choices that had to be made in the pursuit of a greater good. Throughout the struggles for Winterfell, many characters made significant sacrifices to protect the castle and the North. These sacrifices often came at the expense of their personal honor and traditional values. Characters like Sansa Stark had to confront uncomfortable realities and make choices that went against their upbringing. This tension between duty and personal beliefs added a layer of complexity to their actions and highlighted the lengths to which they had to go to ensure Winterfell's survival. Despite winning the battle against the dead, the North's demographic landscape was irrevocably altered. The heavy losses of the living against the dead resulted in a significant reduction in population. This long-term impact had profound implications for the North's social structure, economy, and its ability to rebuild. After years of strife and division caused by the struggle for Winterfell and the threat of the dead, reuniting the North was a daunting task. Healing the wounds of war and establishing lasting peace became a priority, requiring patience, understanding, and a commitment to reconciliation among the northern houses. Rebuilding Winterfell, which had been repeatedly destroyed and stripped of its resources, was a monumental challenge. Reinstating the castle's defenses, repairing homes, and reviving the local economy required immense effort and resources. The road to recovery was a slow one, testing the resilience and determination of the North. While Winterfell ultimately survived all the challenges it faced, the cost was immense. Lives were lost, communities were shattered, and the landscape was scarred. The question remains whether the sacrifices made and the suffering endured were truly worth it.